Так, думаю, меня нормально слышно. Так, сейчас я все вкладочки открываю. И можно идти смотреть. Сразу напишите, что по звуку. Сюда. Сюда. Так, ладно, я думаю, можно открывать. Сюда. Вот так вот. Все. Так.
That's a big deal. We're over to hot zone now, and open zone will be the selection of map, and that name, that ain't no lie.
Так, кто у нас играет? OnePort Gaming и West Blast.
Vanguard understand that Stu can bring a lot of value with that speed zone. There's Maxes in play here. Poco, a brawler that's certainly not a sharpshooter. Banned on this right-hand side. They're going to follow up with a Penny selection as well. You see Otis on the left. There's more to this map than just picking some Pipers and Bells.
No doubt about it. There are a lot of sharpshooters that you can choose from here, but maybe, you know, what you give up in range, you gain in damage, right? You bring the Lola in there. The ability to shield yourself with your ego is pretty big if you're low on health and you feel like you're going to be under pressure and you have that super available to you. And that raw damage means it's pretty scary to try and get in your face. Again, West Coast really want to play like a mid to long range composition. They just want to make it very costly for Vanguard.
Я думаю, нормально
So Vanguard have to
слышно.
make a decision here. Can they outrange,
Так.
or they're going to go for a bit more of an aggressive play here and
Карта у нас открытая зона.
or a little bit of both?
Пикают Отиса Макс. Ну, в принципе, выбор неплохой.
So, you know, the sharpshooter skills of both these teams are going to be tested.
Вообще, я с этим регионом не знаком, как таково. Поэтому посмотрим, что из этого выйдет. Так. Откроем на весь экран. Сейчас я чат, наверное, на телефоне открою. Да.
Picking Crow into Max makes a lot of sense to me. Again, Crow is still a really solid brawler despite the nerf he got a couple months ago. His gadget going from 5 seconds to 3 seconds definitely makes a difference, but it still slows down any Max offensive, so they have that kind of in their back pocket to try and make a difference here against Max specifically on the side of Vanguard game.
Так, сейчас немного вот так вот. Все, погнали. Итак, пики плюс-минус равные. Пока что мы видим то, что команда играют на равных. Но все-таки West Class немного поджимает OnePort Gaming. И давайте посмотрим, что из этого выйдет. Ну, преимущество West Class до сих пор. Неплохая тегровка у Лолы. Противоположная команда пытается что-то сделать, но у них не выходят. Так. Под скоростью, по идее, сейчас они могут забрать контроль, но вроде у них это и получается. Так. Отлично. Команда OnePort Gaming забирает контроль. OnePort Gaming и ну, здесь понятно, то, что West Class забирает эту игру и, скорее всего, забирает этот сет. Но, может быть, и Вард Гейминг соберутся и затащат противоположную команду. 99-100. Ждем следующий раунд.
Setting STMN up for a chance to make the grand finals, but they have to beat this team. That's just insane. Alec again would have to fall to his homies to allow them through. That's crazy. But still, Vanguard are in this. They have a chance, but this is it. They have to come alive now.
Опять преимущество у команды West Plus. Причем, я бы сказал, коровая дорога. Причем, я сказал бы, неплохое преимущество. То, что они полностью контролят зону. Абсолютный контроль. Так, но команда One for Gaming пытается что-то сделать. Вроде у них получается, но Ворон залетает. Но Макс его убивает. Смотрим, что будет дальше. Но все-таки я думаю, что команда West Plus победит, потому что 65-30, пик у них хороший, и контроль будет забрать сложно. Давайте все по лайку прожмем. И команда сейчас West Plus забирает эту игру. Вы все-таки голосовать за команду БГ. Здесь было 3, да. Все. Получается, те, кто проголосовали за Вакус Гейминг, вроде бы, Вокс, да. West Plus. Все-таки West Plus показали себя лучше, нежели Вакус Гейминг. Но мы ждем следующую игру. Сетки у меня, к сожалению, нету, потому что я только сейчас зашел на этот чемпионат. И, получается, сетку перед этим не видел. Сейчас он показывает прикольные моментики.
We saw what the voting was, right? On event.brawlstars.com, you all thought Vanguard, or most of you at least thought Vanguard will be
Посмотрим, что у нас по статистике. У Прикси дамаг 26%. Самый лучший игрок это Шини, 11 килов, 2 смерти. Командный дамаг 39%. Как я понял, DPS это, скорее всего, типа саппорт. MVP, ну, в принципе, заслуженно. 5 килов, 5 смертей и 149 помощи команде. Саппорта можно так назвать. Так, кто у нас играет в следующем? Давайте посмотрим.
Pretty insane stuff. The storylines, Kenny, are starting to get insane here in this October monthly final. We've still got 2 more quarterfinals to come here, in which we can see if Tribe and Vatra can advance to set up a powerhouse semi-final. It's been great to be with you here so far. I'll be seeing you a little bit later on, but for now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head to a break. When we come back, it'll be Tribe Gaming going up against Obey Alliance. Don't go anywhere, everybody. It's just starting to heat up.
Небольшая рекламная пауза. Так, ну здесь вроде все нормально. Должно быть. Ладно, продолжаем смотреть.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Brawl Stars Championship October monthly finals for
Так,
North America
качество.
and Latin North, and Insanity
Качество,
has
ну,
just
вроде
prevailed in their
хорошее.
second quarterfinal match of today. West Coast free agents prevail. They move on to the semi-finals. An
Так,
absurd
вот.
result already set.
Получается,
What are your
у
thoughts on
нас
what we've seen
сейчас
so far?
играет Страйп против
This is
Альянс.
unreal. I don't think really anyone expected this to happen, especially West Coast
Ага.
FA. They're land demons, right? But now they bring that kind of energy online. It is
Всё,
absolutely
я понял, получается, это
ridiculous
только-
that they can make it to these
только
finals
начало,
and
можно
so
сказать.
dominantly
Так,
as well. And it means that
давайте,
Pure
за кого
Gaming's
вы
fate,
затрапили?
once again, it's no
Обэй,
longer in their own
Альянс.
hands. They have to rely on West Coast FA, the team that took them down, to take down STMN and stop them from making it on to the grand finals. So the face-off in the grand finals, it's not imperative for STMN anymore. This bottom half of the bracket, of course, decides who goes on to those grand finals and who would have to face the winner of that first semi-final. But the stakes are still super high. It's the last monthly final of the year. There's fame, there's glory, there's cash money on the line as well. But it no longer hinges on the fate of STMN and what this last spot for Worlds will look like.
Вроде вот так.
And hey, while the players are out here earning rewards, there's a bit on the line for you at home. Head over to event.brawlstars.com. You can vote on the outcome of the matches, your MVP, and earn yourself in-game rewards along the way. That's what we're all watching the Brawl Stars Championship monthly finals so far. But let's now move ahead. We're talking about the big dogs, the undisputed
Еще
kings of
52
North
минуты.
America and Latam North, winning 4 out of the 6 monthly finals so far. It's Tribe Gaming NA. They've
ТЕГ.
already secured their word final
Ладно.
spot just by turning up today.
Здесь я
Already
все
said
правильно написал.
they're here to remind everybody who the boss is.
Ждем еще
They're an
35
extremely
секунд.
fearsome roster. There's a reason why they are
И
the
будем
undisputed
смотреть.
champions of North America. They are by far the most consistently victorious team in the Brawl Stars monthly finals this year. Only taking a handful of losses, in fact, probably 3 at most as far as match losses. There's also a strong possibility that they have a grudge match versus Vatra coming up in the semifinals, but it's still a grudge match here in the quarters. They'll be facing versus a team that used to belong to an org called Chazmac, now with Obey, but it's the same players as before, and the grudge is absolutely there.
Yeah, obviously, this new roster, though, doesn't have worldwide Giga influencer Toast on it. That is the one big change that this team has, but they're still hoping, again, with a reduced roster, to come in here and muck with things in a big way. This team's had some unfortunate sort of matchups coming into a lot of monthly finals. Quite often, I think in 3 monthly finals, in the quarterfinals, they've had to go up against either Tribe or STMN. This month is no different. So this roster, very, very used to trying to play spoiler against the very best teams in this region. They can't qualify for Worlds. That's not on the table for this team. But again, this org, this obviously Obey Alliance, are looking to set themselves up for a big 2023. And what better way to pick up, you know, a real dark horse org here in North America and Latam North, and you know, guide them through this last monthly finals and get them ready for next year. So that's absolutely what Obey are working on. It's going to be
Так,
hot potato up first
карта
here.
горячая картошка.
No surprises here, already said.
Получается, у нас
94%
это сейф,
people at home.
ограбление.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not surprised
Карта
either at the
довольно
confidence, right? The
неплохая.
predictions looking this dominant, but I don't think the
Смотрим
game
то,
is gonna
что
go
за
like that
Tribe
at all, because in
94%,
previous
за
matches we have seen that
Альянс
Chazmac
6.
is, or rather now Obey, but these group of players have been very difficult to face in the quarterfinals. for Tribe
Посмотрим,
or
что из этого
anyone that they go
получится.
up against. They bring out very creative drafts and they're very mechanically gifted as well.
Сейчас
When it comes
у
to
нас
hot
проходит
potato,
процедура
it's
банов.
gonna be heavily
Банят
invested in
Дрифа,
that draft
Колец
as well. Tribe Gaming, they do
и
have that 6
Бобика.
pick, so they'll be able to
Противоположно
nurture things. They'll also
Амбер,
be able
Нита
to address
и
any tank ideas
Ульт.
on Obey's side. And Obey will be starting off with
Эвс.
M's as
Ну,
well.
неплохой.
Gonna be great
Рикошет.
to control some
Ну,
tanks around
вместо
mid, but
рикошета
does
можно
kind of
было бы
rely on
там
those bushes as well. So as long
какого-нибудь
as the
бот
wall
взять.
breakers are gone, then
Потому что
Obey
рикошет
Alliance
не
can
самый
make some
лучший
pretty
выбор
big
на эту
things happen with
карту.
this brawler.
It's not a fun matchup for Fade
Gale.
to play into Zulan here. here as well. And Gale is an excellent answer to Ems, who wants to close the gap, and Tyrant, of course, could force her away. And I think Kenny alluded to
Мне
it in the
непонятен
previous game,
пик
right? If there's
Tribe
like a
Gaming.
pad build here for Tyrant, that
Какой-то он
gives
странный.
this Tribe Gaming team like a potential all-in option. I mean, obviously Zulan can teleport himself to his peep if he's actually taken that ability, if he wants to try and all-in the safe. So a ton of options here. Tribe actually just leaving so many possibilities open, and I don't blame Fade for scratching his head here, wondering what the next pick's going to be.
Well, if they have a couple in a row, that Gale pick just a
It's a
moment ago was
Barley.
multifaceted. Not only does it deny Gale for Obey, but it also means that they can play a tank as well and use that jump pad kind of strategy that was alluded to earlier. Chino picking up the Barley here. They are really
Я думаю, то, что из-за пика Tribe Gaming могут здесь проиграть.
Tribe Gaming, they got rid of
То есть я бы не сказал, что они очень
They
хороший
also got rid
пик.
of Amber, who can burn up most of the bushes. That doesn't eliminate the possibility of Tribe going for something of their own to break open walls. Bull is absolutely on the table. If they want that, they can be very selective about allowing Rico onto a lane that doesn't have walls broken open. Carl is always going to be a very solid pick to end things off, but Tribe can be very creative with his counter.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Obviously not a true tank in Carl picked here, but definitely someone who can go all in, get aggressive, or as we actually saw in the previous game, right, a heat ejector was picked up as the gadget, and there was more of a zoning approach to playing that Carl. Yeah, feels pretty good to be pick 6 here for Tribe Gaming. Now you can really round out your roster. You can, you know, take something longer range and continue to pressure that. Oh my god!
Карл и Эль Прима. Вот Эль Прима я вообще не понимаю, для чего он здесь нужен.
That is wild, but it makes sense.
То
It
есть,
absolutely
что они
makes sense
пытаются
on paper.
сделать?
It's going to come down to execution to ultimately determine whether this is successful or not. We've seen
Ладно,
teams
наверное,
the
виднее.
world around use Primo as a last pick on this map. SK Gaming absolutely comes to mind. Now, when they ran Primo, it kind of fell flat on its face. They went 0-2 in that set. So the execution has to be immaculate. But it does diff some very specific matchups, particularly versus Carl. Carl's going to have to run something long range, but the lane matchup does not lend itself to Zulan's favor at first. He's going to be on this right lane, constantly having to back up versus Fade, or maybe getting tricky with his movement and pushing up gradually. He's got to not feed those supers to Fade, because that Barley super is pretty much going to dictate the flow, the ebb, and the pushes.
Команды пока стоят на равных.
Fade under a lot of pressure here.
Но все-таки команда Obey немного продавила Tribe, но Tribe все равно не сдаются. Команды, опять же, повторюсь, кто играет на данный момент на равных. То есть каждый сохраняет свою позицию, не дает другу подойти к сейфу, отстреливают, держат фланги, мид. Карл врывается, и, наверное, сейчас нанесет какой-то дамаг по сейфу. И пока что лидирует команда Obey. Но Tribe тоже немного не поддамажили. До сих пор лидирует команда Obey. Или прямо пытается сделать, но Барли подрубает гаджет. Тут уже Эмс вышла. Так, ульта от Дика. Его зажимает, не успевает отхилиться. Карл улетает. Наносит дамаг по сейфу. Ему никто ничего не может сделать. Тут уже и Барли подошел. И, скорее всего, команда Obey снесет этот сейф. Но потихонечку команда Tribe также дамажит всей противоположной команды с не таким успехом, как Obey, но все-таки и команда Obey забирает сейф. Первый раунд у нас закончен. Сейчас второй раунд, скорее всего, опять же команда Obey победит, и мы перейдем к следующему сету.
Straight away, Tribe have to answer it. They have to find a way to neutralize that long-range pressure on the safe. The fact that even Ems is getting to step up and do damage, and Chino so hard to deal with on that right.
Вторая игра.
Tribe need to figure this out and quickly. They need to get value from this
Команда.
but Obey aren't allowing themselves to be kept at arm's length.
Команды сохраняют свои позиции, держатся фланги, мид, все играют аккуратненько, от контроля, никто не рашит. Карл перебивает Эль Прима, как ни странно. Эль Прима пытается что делать, Карл ему помогает Эмс, Карл с ультой дамажит сейф. Эмс перестреливается делом на миду, скорее всего Эмс перебивает Гейла. Карл еще живет, Эль Прима его убивает. Отлично отдефала команда Трайбов этот сейф. Пытается идти в атаку, но команда Обей уже их встречает и не дает подойти к сейфу. Икстар, здорово. Итак, команда Обей в хорошей форме. Они просто не выпускают команду Трайб, держат их на контроле. В процентном соотношении команда Обей нанесла 44% урона, команда Трайбов 5%. Ну, мне кажется, здесь и гадать не надо, то что победителем на процентов 90 будет Обей. Но все еще может поменяться. Итак, Эль Примо пытается что-то сделать, но перебивает Карл. Рика убивает, наносит небольшой дамаг по сейфу, но там уже Барли на противоположной стороне. Закидывает ультой, наносит неплохой дамаг, но мог бы лучше. Ну все, это каточка за командой Обей. Тем самым они забирают первый сет. И через 18, точнее уже 16 секунд мы переместимся к следующей игре. И там, скорее всего, опять же команда Обей заберет этот сет и выйдет в полуфинал. Отлично. Команда Обей побеждает. Довольно быстро они сыграли. 2-0. Не ожидал я от команды Обей то, что они так хорошо себя покажут. Но Трайбы, скорее всего, недооценили противника. Следующее у нас это кремовый торт. Награда за поимку. Момент с Мачином демонстрируется. Тут хорошо отыграл гейм.
Well, we did see El Primo super in at the end. We saw just how valuable that can be at starting off the push. Here comes Zulon with just a few seconds left. That spearheaded everything to happen at the end. It almost came to fruition. A single push accomplished what Obey took an entire game to do, which does serve to reveal how valuable he can be. However, I think that really the trouble started happening earlier on in the draft, and I almost want to say in the bans, because Tribe Gaming they chose to ban out 2 wall breakers, and Obey Alliance banned out Amber. There was no way to get rid of any of the bushes or get rid of any of those obstacles without sacrificing a whole lot of potential for defense and offense. I think Primo was definitely a good shout. In hindsight, maybe the ban phase would have been where Tribe Gaming could have improved and drawn a victory from there.
Look, we were talking about it at the start of the show. It's been pretty hard, even a pick 6 for teams to really get what they're looking for out of their tanks. And Patchy absolutely dominated that round. Honestly, 6 deaths is much more than I thought he suffered, because it looked like for the most part he was pretty comfortable, right? Friend zoning if anyone got too close. Caustic Charisma combining with Carl's Tailspin to just annihilate that El Primo on the right-hand side. El Primo had to basically super to try and at least trade kills there, and even then, it saw Tribe being in a weaker position. Lane Cake's coming up here. We expect to see maybe a little bit of a different feel here, but for Tribe, I mean, heading into the World Finals, to go out in the first round of a monthly final. They're trying to strike fear into not only their own region, but the whole world. They're trying to say, hey, Tribe's coming.
Absolutely. And Tribe Gaming, they're going to start this off with some bans. Poco, Janet, and Sprout eliminated on their side. Obey also getting eliminated, but a Penny and a Gene too. Now we can see where that Sprout ban really starts to tie in. First pick of TEG. Now, that can leave you open to a few things. One of them being
сейчас довольно сильно персонаж. Пайпер, ну может быть, да.
Set themselves up by getting rid of some of the things that can counter out what they want for that last pick early on. Tyrant with an immediate pick of Piper as well. That's very likely to go over to as Livy, who we've been seeing make some excellent plays on this particular brawler. Last one going to be Colette as well. Got to make sure that they cover the bases with at least one tank counter, but Piper's going to be pretty vulnerable versus any brawlers that can get up close and personal. So Bay Alliance can absolutely think about this as a consideration, but it looks like they're going to play it safe and just play it long range.
So expect to see this round play out pretty slowly. Both teams looking to play fairly long-range brawlers, right? We've got Otis. Ruffs, I guess you could argue, is more mid-range, but we know what B can do here, and it's going to come down a lot of the time to the mechanical ability on both these sides. I think it's a very classic composition from Tribe, right? We see it really frequently. I think, you know, anytime you're sort of locking in Tick and a sharpshooter, you need to worry about tanks, so I completely understand the Colette there is a contingency. But again, yeah, you're right. As Livy picking up the Piper here, looking to really make a mark and hand out some free haircuts.
Вся команда играет аккуратно, это правильно. Агрессировать не надо. Играть надо. Контролем.
He has a lot of range to work with here. Slightly less than Chino, but it is arbitrary because he does have greater speed on that projectile as well. He's pretty likely to be running homemade recipe to get a free shot off at the end of that range. Here comes the fat splatter on the right side from
there it is.
Backing things up. There's the free kill from his Livy with the homemade recipe, and that is just how strong it can be. Tribe Gaming NA, though, they gotta find out how they can defend this.
Пока что ведет команда Tribe Gaming. Хотя я даже не видел, как они успели первый килл сделать. Но все же. Ну, они потихоньку зажимаются. То, что не есть хорошо. Команда Убей поджимает Трайбов. Артур, здорово. Итак, счет 5-2 в пользу Tribe Gaming. Но мне кажется, то, что это не конечный счет. У команды УБ есть все шансы добрать звезды и выйти вперед. Так, давайте посмотрим, 10 секунд. Успеет ли команда УБ забрать звезды? Поджимаю. Пчела промахивается и колец забирает. Увы, не получилось. К сожалению, или к счастью, но Tribe Gaming побеждает в первом раунде. Здесь смотрим. Первый килл за Tribe Gaming. Да. Ну, здесь понятно, то, что, скорее всего, этот сет заберет команда Tribe. Я думаю, здесь и гадать не надо, потому что они довольно хорошо себя чувствуют на этой карте, на персонажах. То есть играют, можно сказать, на чиле, на расслабончике. При этом есть чем смотреть. Я смотрю на Твиче, на команде Brawl Stars Championship. Также ты можешь посмотреть на ютубе. Канал называется Brawl Stars eSports. И на сайте, но сайт у меня не открыт. Zulon refuses to give up any room as Livy simply doesn't miss. Never mind, Chino getting some good dodges. Does get tapped up once, and that's about all he can take, actually. Even with that shield, as now he heals up and can take just a little bit more, is not going to be enough to suffice to... 9-3, впереди идет Tribe Gaming, и, скорее всего, заберет этот сет.
They still have to find
И
an
мы
angle versus
видим
Ссылок as well.
третий
He
раунд,
that super on
решающий.
well. Tyrant is locking down this lane.
Кто
No
же
one
пройдет
will
в
pass for free.
полуфинал,
They're gonna have to
Трайб
take a
или
ton of
Обэй?
damage if they want to push through. Just 10 seconds left.
Колет,
Obey's hand is
ну
forced.
здесь
1-2 kills for Zulon. Could be
и
another
говорить
one on the
нечего,
way.
Трайбы
It's
молодцы,
final kill onto Chino.
собрались и
Super
дотащили.
set from Tribe Gaming.
Итого на счет 1-1, третий решающий матч.
Better bounce back from a rough start to the series here, and for me, Zulon definitely man of the moment there. Otis is one of the most fearsome brawlers in the game. His ability to silence you really just slants that 1 versus 1 so heavily in his favor. We saw that happen as well on occasion, right? Bringing the max
По-английски я не помню, какая-то карта.
Knowing that you can jump in with that super and have that extra durability, the shield goes a long way. Zulon, again, Colette not really a brawler that shines on her own, right? She does that percent health damage. She requires teammates to follow up on the damage that she does to tanks here. A safe pick, the one that's really versatile here, but it takes a player like Zulon to really unlock her true power.
And you're also operating at kind of a range disadvantage versus a brawler, say, B, which is played by Chino here, constantly trying to keep things at long range as possible. Did manage to tag up Zulon there towards the end as well, but this is also great positioning from Tribe because they strategically make Livy this unstoppable force as well as an immovable object as well. He just won't budge from wherever he wishes to stand because he doesn't miss and you can't dodge the guy out. We saw Chino actually start to get on pace there towards the end and get some dodges, but he's the only possible brawler to play into his Livy there, which means that the lanes are locked and there's just not any counterplay to Colette, where usually you just try and outrange her.
And here it is, Patchy coming out with the only kills on the side of Obey Alliance, and you kind of understand it, right? The other matchups were so heavily Tribe favored, right? The Piper was just dominant in the middle part of the map, as Livy, yeah, again, almost 40% team damage. Patchy again is able to really put pressure on Zulon, but I mean, he's not the star carrier, right? They don't put the blue star on him. Tyrant obviously is really hard to all in because of last hurrah, and there was no easy targets. There's so much disengage and so much survivability on the side of Tribe NA. And the composition was kind of general, right? They take tick. Everyone wants to try and secure that first pick tick on bounty maps, and they have a really good sharpshooter there. The draft was just very straightforward, but the execution, Ready said, that's where they're really shown. Great stuff. They've evened up this best of 3.
And that's also where I personally think Tribe excels. They just have the mechanics, they have the execution down. They specialize on certain brawlers, and more than ever, actually, lately, they've been focusing down on which brawlers can be the real power players, and also they are talented on sort of throwing caution into the wind, getting rid of those ideas of, well, I just gotta play what's most meta. Piper is not the most meta player on that last map, but as Livy is cracked at her, and they're gonna draft around the best they can get, they did. Now we move into knockout as well, and some key brawlers that can make a difference here in Band as well. Fang is a huge one, and look at Obey getting rid of the Viper as well. They're better brawlers to play here in terms of mid, but Obey know that they just cannot suffice to play into his Livy's Piper again.
Talk to me about the Gus pick here as well. We've seen him now on a few different game types, sometimes working really well, sometimes not having the impact. What are Tribe looking for here with this pick?
He just has a lot of sustain because he can pop up that shield. He also has quite a bit of range, and he can outrange a lot of brawlers that are in the current meta. Griff is absolutely one of them. He has the same range as a brawler like Jesse, for instance, but slightly shorter by like 2/3 of a tile, shorter than Piper. So that kind of paints a picture of how long range this brawler is. He is weak in close range, which is where Tribe Gaming need to be cautious because Obey do have pick number 6. They're not going to do too much in terms of protecting themselves at close range, but they should be able to defend themselves at mid very effectively. Obey can still be pretty tricky here. They've countered out tanks already in preparation for permitting one for themselves. Buzz is totally on the table for these guys. I can absolutely see Fade picking up that brawler for himself and making the switch from there, but it's definitely a tough decision as they're going to run down the clock on this one.
High risk to pick up the Buzz here as well as, yeah, okay, something much more middle of the road, something a little safer. It's going to be the Colette locked in here for Patchy.
And I definitely see Patchy making some big differences on the Colette because we've seen Patchy is sort of a lone wolf power player. We saw it in Heist getting, you know, pretty much the only kills, or rather on Bounty, getting pretty much the only kills on the team as being kind of a solo brawler, and he can absolutely commit solo as Colette.
Первая игра в этом режиме, решающая, тоже выйдет в полуфинал.
And then fire away from there. He also does fairly well versus Bonnie, so he's going to have to find some way to move over to Tyrant's lane, and he's still trying to move over there. In fact, it's going to be Fade playing the Colette this time, looking for an angle, gradually switching over.
Мало попаданий от Брока.
Where those enemies are, because they're going to be hiding in those bushes for as long as they can. Not only does it give them
Пока что все команды стоят равно.
on their attacks, but it keeps enemies from seeing them. The Obey Alliance are going to have to abandon post and move back to the next run.
Tribe starting to take a little bit of map control. Here you can see as Livy is just inching up that right-hand side. Patchy wants to remove some of his architecture here. Both teams
немножко начинает поджиматься команда Obey.
Skill-based matchup. Chino there takes a hit from Zulan though, looking a little bit dangerous on that Brock. Patchy wants to come forward now as well. As Livy a little bit concerned about having to be in a 1 versus 1 scenario. More of that terrain being removed here by Patchy. Time ticking down now. This is about to get a little bit messy as the gap advances.
Fade's healing up. He still does get taken down. Zulon immediately fired back upon Tyrant, picking up a kill. It's just Patchy to fight all of these guys. Does end up going down in the poison as well, with Tyrant and his Livy both remaining on the map. 1 round already for Tribe Gaming NA. If they win this next round, they're headed to match point. Obey Alliance have to figure out how they can attack this composition from Tribe Gaming NA. The Brock is not a really common pick to see victorious. We can leave it that way. But it is very popular on this map to break open some walls and give yourself easier access into mid for a faster rollout. But Zulon has still been playing it pretty well in close range. It's also tough to play in mid-range as well, so Tribe Gaming NA have to closely make sure that they're only operating at max range, and so far, they're playing the control game very well, but they have given a couple supers to the enemy side.
Yeah, as Livy had to pop the super there to avoid being blown up instantly by Chino. And Shield making it a little bit hard to work the B down, but a couple consecutive shots on to that sharpshooter for Obey. Now they're being forced back into their half of the map. Bay wants to come forward though. Time to collect. Going to narrowly miss as Tyrant still looks pretty confident here. 2 supers up for Tribe.
Так, первый раз у нас забрала команда Tribe, и второй также тоже Tribe. Первый раунд за Трайбом. Скорее всего, последняя игра. Если сейчас Трайбы выигрывают, то они переходят в полуфинал. И следующие игры будут 2 полуфинала и последний решающий матч — финал.
When I can be vulnerable to getting killed by this brawler, how much health do I need to have? And that's what happened to Obey Alliance.
Даже не знаю, какой это регион.
Make sure that that doesn't happen again. If it does, even for just
Все, в
one round,
принципе,
they are at the mercy of a single round of
что это за
knockout.
команда. Ну, Трайбы понятно, вот Obey Альянс, до этого команда непонятная.
Back into the left-hand corner, Obey pushed here. This is going to allow Tyrant to quite comfortably fire this diagonal. Super available there. Patchy getting pressured down pretty heavily. Fade taking tick damage from Zulan's aftershots. And Obey need to make a play here at some point here, but even Patchy's a little bit concerned about trying to match up to Livy here, who is just...
Увидим мы игру от отлично, неплохо раздал Obey. Игрок с команды Obey. Так, неужели команда Obey сможет? Хорошую игру нам показала команда Obey. Собрались и внутри команду Трайбл.
Patchy was able to push forward. You also saw he was on full health, just gradually moving forward, trying as much as he could to tank for Chino. It came to fruition with a super from Chino, and now they might be able to make it happen again. 3 supers on the side of Obey, an early takedown onto as Livy. It's a 3v2, and Tyrant's in such an aggressive position. He's going to be looking for a retreat. Big damage. He's going to have to escape as well. It's just up to Zulon to deny the offensive here. Does get slowed down as well. Narrowly avoids the attack from Chino. Tyrant also looking for something in close range. It is not looking good for Tribe Gaming NA, and it's not possible. Rather, it's not impossible, but it's definitely not plausible.
Pyron able to get back here into the cannon. Did have a little bit of cover to try and get close in that unmounted form, we'll say, but no opportunity presented itself. A 2v3, always tough to fight back from here from Tribe, and yeah, Zulai gets paced into the wall there. Tyrant tries to dive, but it's not going to be enough, and now this third set
Так,
is
команда
evened up.
обои
One game
забирает
apiece.
второй раунд и
It is a
решающий.
tale as old as time,
Если
or maybe
команда
just over
Tribe
the last few years,
забирает,
but
то
regardless,
они
a
в
double match point
полуфинале.
between the Tribe Gaming roster and this roster of Fade and Patchy in Chino. It is a very storied situation, and this is why both teams report that this is such a difficult matchup to face. Even Tribe Gaming NA, the undisputed kings of NA, say that this roster is so challenging to face, and we see it unfolding before our eyes once again. Early takedown to those walls on the right side. Patchy suffering huge damage. Zulon now gets to push up around the left side as some lanes are traded out as well. Patchy needs to get good dodges versus Zulon in order to push up, and that's really going to be the main thing in anyone's toolkit when they're playing into Brock is dodge out those rockets in mid-range, because they actually do travel relatively slowly compared to other projectiles. He's still going to get tapped up on the left, though, and Obey Alliance allow some things to close it around the right side. It is going to result in a kill by Chino, though, and now Obey boasts a 3-2 advantage.
This is getting dangerous now. So hard to fight back from this brawl at disadvantage. Somehow you have to make a play, but between the Gus and Bonnie, those options are a little bit limited. Tyron forced back here. Might have to super away. Doesn't he have the opportunity to do so? And as Livy just goes and breathes in the
И
green.
команда обои Альянс забирает этот раунд, и скорее всего это решающий раунд.
That is absolutely insane. Could it be possible? They have to go to another round and they have to make it happen there.
Команда Tribe неплохо начали, уже раскрыли
also
почти
firing
сюда.
away. Does get one tap on a Tyrant. He's a very powerful
Неплохо
beat that he can fire away
накидывает
at Zul on the left side. It's not going to be able to
Газ,
take him down, but it's going to
Боня
get him darn close. Meanwhile, Fade and Patchy taking serious damage on the right side. Zulon firing away
отстает от
as well. No
своих
kills just yet, but Obey
сокомандников.
to their left side. Tribe Gaming NA have to be extremely careful not
И,
to overcommit
скорее
like they
всего,
did
кого-то
last
сейчас
time. Zulon was the one
заберут
who got
из
tapped up with the
команды
most damage,
обои.
and he is going to stay just out of range of that attack from Chino. Still, though, a 3v3 and no clear advantage for either team.
Such a dominant start though for Tribe, but they are only ever one double tap from B away from losing this Brock. So Zulan needs to be extra careful with the 3600.
Скорее всего, минус гриф, да, остается 2 в 3. И это точно решающий раунд за выход в полуфинал.
Realizes that that's not really an option, and Tribe are going to even things up. It all comes down to this last round of knockout.
We saw Fade pop a gadget as well. That could have been a huge resource to use here in the final round. Thankfully, he still has one more left. And once again, that could be the difference maker, especially towards the end where survivability is everything.
Он заметит, что команда более ответственно относится к этому матчу, потому что он за выход в полуфинал идет. Поэтому такое пропустить нельзя.
Getting hit by yet another shot from Izlivy. Izlivy might be close to getting that super. Here it is on a Tyrant. Big damage, and he has to escape.
Команда Obey неплохо поджимает. Но все-таки Трайбу это не мешает. Все равно не отстреливаться от команды. И команда Obey проходит в полуфинал.
Corners and Fade. Does he realize what has just happened?
He's in disbelief himself.
Хорошая игра.
Someone pinch me eyes wide as the dinner plates that I'm sure he serves the popcorn on, because the popcorn, it'll be dearly missed this month, but we do get to see the victorious Fade on the screen.
А я, наверное, буду завершать, так как я просто запустил показать вам, что я жив, просто не стримлю. Вот. Всем спасибо, кто посмотрел. Ждите стрим. Всем